So you probably clicked on this video so you can start using the minigun like this. What you just saw there are just a few of the things that you can do with this weapon. So without further ado, let me show you how to actually use the minigun. So just to briefly give a description of the minigun, you've got a ton of ammo. It takes a little bit of time to rev up like this, and bullets fire in this big sort of spread right here, and they can do a lot of damage, but you do have to be kind of in a sort of a close range environment. But the first thing that I want to mention to you is the ADS. I know some people, for some reason, still don't know that if you ADS with the minigun, you actually have better accuracy. So compare this to normal firing like this, right here, and then this is aim down sights. Way more centered. So when you can, I would advise you to do ADS. Sometimes it's okay to use Hipfire. Like if you're really close to someone, then I would say that it's probably fine to do Hipfire. But if you are within like 5 to 10 meters or something like that, I'd ADS. Now, the next thing I want to mention is the optimal engagement range for your minigun. So your optimal engagement range is going to be within about like 10 to 12 meters. So anywhere from 0 to 12 meters-ish, you will be doing just fine. Anywhere past that, you're going to be starting to take some 50-50s, because at that point, people with more accurate guns and an ability to aim at your head are going to do much better against you. And then if you are fighting someone at like 20 to 30 meters or something like that, I would advise you just don't even take that fight in general, unless you also have teammates firing down at that person and you really have nothing to lose by shooting at them. But really, kind of this space right here, looking at this little training range target, is what I would do. Now, some of you might be wondering where to aim with the minigun, because as you know, it kind of goes a little bit all over the place sometimes. So where I would recommend aiming is in this upper chest area right here. If you are like this close to someone, you can probably get away with just aiming for the head. But if you are going to be fighting anybody from like right here, maybe like right here, I would advise aiming like right about there, because that means a lot of your bullets are still going to hit their upper chest area, but a decent amount of them are also going to hit their head. Whereas if you just aim at their head, you're taking the chance of basically missing a lot of your bullets. So from this range, aim for upper chest. If you get closer, aim for the head. Now, this next part about minigun is very important, and this is the concept of priming. So as you know, you have to prime your minigun before you can fire it, right? But you never really want to try and get caught out in the open priming your minigun while your opponent is shooting at you, if you can help it. That's just asking to die in higher lobbies. So what you need to do instead is you need to try and be ready for it. So you can do a couple things to try and help you get that priming ready. The first thing you can do is obviously you can like toss in a dome shield and start doing something like that. The second thing that you can do is you can like start holding right click like this behind a wall and then start firing at them. Like if you know someone's like maybe on a cat shot right here, or you hear their footsteps or something like that, just like being ready and holding down right click can be a super great way to do something like that. And then the third thing that I like to do sometimes is going to be what I call a priming B hop, and that is where you hold left click instead of right click, and you do something like this, and you kind of transition to an ADS at a certain point while you're doing this. So once again, do something like this, just like that. That's going to help you get some ground on your opponents, and it's also going to help you start priming your minigun while you're moving, and going to make you a little bit harder to hit. Now, the big thing with the minigun is that if you're in an engagement, you want this thing to be primed and ready to go as often as possible. So if I'm going to go around doing something like this, I'm going to want to try and just keep holding right click as much as I can, like that. Just always be ready for the next person. If you have the minigun, always be looking for that next kill, because you don't have all that ammo for no reason. Always just be looking for your next target. So the other thing that you can also do is you can do left click priming like this too. So if you want to take out this person, you can be holding left click like this to get a little bit better movement sometimes. So if you want to get some slightly more faster movement, making sure that you can just like keep tapping left click just like that, and you can stay in the fight for pretty long. Now, if possible, you never want to take a fair fight with the minigun. What do I mean by this? What I'm saying here is I want you to try and have a jump pad, a zip line, a gateway, a medium with a heal beam, or another heavy with the mesh shield near you as often as possible. You can be super, super good with the minigun, but this thing becomes so much better with help, especially in some of those higher ranks. If you're playing minigun all by yourself and you're a solo player, you can really, really get punished if you're not careful. So always making sure that you have at least something that can give you either movement or basically effectively extra health is going to be really, really important with this gun. So if you have like a medium with a jump pad to let you get onto height, well, you can keep priming your minigun like this. That's fantastic. You can play next to a zip line to also allow you to prime your minigun up in the air like this. It's going to be much, much harder to hit, much more mobile. And then obviously you can do the same thing with like a gateway. Also, for those of you who didn't know, you can hold right click like this, and if one of your teammates hits you with a vanish bomb, you'll stay invisible until you start firing. Now, one final tip that I have with the minigun is pre-fire a lot. If you hear footsteps, like pre-fire everything. If you think someone's going to come through this doorway, just pre-fire it. Just pre-fire everything. You have the ammo for it, you might as well do it. And a lot of times you can get some crazy melts on people. I've gotten so many really, really insane kills just by pre-firing the doorway after I kill someone's teammate. Just swivel to a doorway, just start pre-firing the doorway and melt someone as they walk through. Doing that can absolutely destroy teams who are not expecting it. So now you guys might be wondering, what specializations should I run with minigun? Now, the first thing that I would say is I do not recommend charge and slam. Charge and slam is bad news with the minigun. Why? Because if you're doing something like that, you're already doing so much damage right here. It's like, why would you ever need to do this? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, yes, you can use it as a repositioning tool, I suppose, but at that point, I would just rather have mesh shield and I can play support for my team as well. I just don't get it. So, in my personal opinion, at least, I would not run charge and slam with the minigun, especially not if you're playing in like high diamond and ruby lobbies. Just run something else, please. Now, next up is winch claw. So with winch claw, you can like prime the minigun up like this and then be firing like right out of your winch. The only issue with this is if you're this close to someone with the minigun, they're probably already going to be dead and you don't really need the winch at that point. So like you can use the winch for like moving a cash box, I suppose. You can use it to do like kill confirms on people, but if you're like this close to someone with a minigun, I don't think that the winch is going to help you get that kill much more than just shooting, right? So yeah. Now, the two things I think are much better for the minigun are the mesh shield and the goo gun. So with mesh shield, obviously you can't like mesh juggle or anything like that. You got to rev up your minigun like that. The reason you would run mesh shield is, let's say you just killed this guy right here, right? But then this guy catches you out in the open. You do not want to take this engagement, remembering what I said earlier. This is a bad engagement for you to take. So then you can mesh shield, and maybe you can get your heal beam starting to heal you like this, back up. You can now shield for your team too, so they can shoot at that guy, and you're still helping your team, and you're not useless in this situation. So I think mesh is still pretty good with the minigun. It's just a little bit of a different mindset than maybe some of you SA-12 mesh shield jugglers are used to. And then the spec that I personally run is goo gun, actually. I know a lot of you think that goo gun is a meme. Not so. Goo gun is actually pretty decent. And especially with the minigun, goo gun actually enables minigun in a lot of situations. So you can go up and do something like this. You can gulag someone and do something like that. What's so significant about that? Well, when you get hit with a goo gun like this, with a gulag, you can't see or shoot while that goo is on you for that little bit of time, which allows me to do three things. It allows me to push up. It allows me to reposition so that they're going to have to like see me again. They're going to have to like change where they're aiming. Now I'm over here instead of being over here. And now I've also been priming my minigun up. So basically I've just effectively changed my time to kill against this person. So if you're on the offensive, using a goo gun like that can be a great way to push into an engagement. The other thing that you can do, as I mentioned before, you don't really want to take fights outside of like this area right here. So if you're in a big open space like this, you can make sure that you are blocking off things like this and only taking engagements like this. You could also try to force people to hit a clamber animation over your goo and absolutely melt them with the minigun. I've done it before. It's absolutely fantastic. And the other thing you can do is you can also make head glitches with the minigun like this. and it's going to make you a little bit harder to kill, and you're going to be a really, really powerful, basically like stationary turret in this situation here. Now for some loadouts. So there are only a couple gadgets that I would recommend that you run with the minigun. The first that I would always use is the dome shield for obvious reasons. It gives you extra health. You can use it to start priming your minigun while you b-hop into engagements. You can use it as a disengage tool. All sorts of that good stuff. I recommend Dome Shield for like pretty much every single heavy class, but especially for minigun, take Dome Shield, please. Now, these other four are a little bit up for debate. So the RPG, I think, is always going to be a good choice of a gadget, but I think it is less necessary on a minigun build than it is with other things. So as many of you will have known by now, I think this strategy has become pretty common in the finals at this point. Taking a jump pad, going up like this, RPGing someone, and then just like immediately shooting them with your guns, right? I feel like this is pretty common in the game now. But when you're doing this with your minigun, for instance, right? Like, you could be priming your minigun that whole time too, and I'm really not sure how RPG could do like a whole ton of extra damage for you. Like, obviously it could, right? It could do something, but I also think you'd have a lot of success just using that time to prime a minigun or maybe toss a dome shield down for your landing. Any of those things. The lock bolt is good if you want to keep people in like a certain area so that you can come in, start priming your minigun and like shoot them down or whatever. But I actually think that the lock bolt is better used by a second heavy if you're running a double heavy comp. I'll get to that a little bit later. So while you can use the lock bolt, I don't think it's necessary. And then the final two things are obviously C4 for dropping cash outs and all that good stuff, and Pyromine to just help you block off doorways and get that extra little bit of map control. Especially really, really good if you're holding down an objective or you need to stop those defib users, place some pyromines on some statues, that sort of thing. Now, team comps to run with the minigun. I would recommend light, medium, heavy, medium, medium, heavy, or medium, heavy, heavy. Now, the thing that I want to mention right here is that you should always have at least one medium if you're running the minigun. If you don't have one medium, I'm not sure exactly what you're doing, because having a jump pad or a zip line with the minigun is so helpful, especially just to give you some more mobility in those fights, even some more survivability. So just please have a medium with you if you use this gun. Light, medium, heavy, though, is just going to be like your kind of standard, you know, it's a light, medium, heavy team comp. What else do you really need to know about it? Then medium, medium, heavy, I would recommend one heal beam, one DMAT. Obviously, the heal beam is going to stay next to you, and then the DMAT can kind of drop you down onto locations or just give you those peaks while you prime and rev up that minigun, so you can be ready to fight immediately. And then you can use medium, heavy, heavy, and you can have either a DMAT or a heal beam medium. It's up to you. But this part is very important. You want your other heavy to have mesh shield. The strategy is that he goes and lock bolts the enemy team. Then he pulls up his mesh shield. That whole time, you could either toss in a dome shield or you can be priming your minigun, and you can get some insanely free kills by doing this. It's such a good strategy. And that's about everything that I have to talk about regarding the minigun for now. I hope this video was helpful to some of you and that it helps you improve your minigun skills within the finals. If this video was helpful, leaving a like is greatly appreciated. If you also feel like subscribing, we're almost to 20,000 subscribers, and it would be awesome if we could reach that milestone. That's about all from me for today, and I will see you in the next one.